In the previous videos, we talked about Git repositories and how to install and configure Git and all that stuff. But now I'm going to tell you how to actually use Git for your projects by initializing or cloning a repository. As you saw before, Git commands start with the Git word, then the command we want, like git config or git version. And when we need help for a command, we can just use the help command like git help git, okay? To use Git on your projects, you need to have an initialized repository in your project directory. We have two types of repositories in Git: bare repositories and non-bare repositories. A bare repository is just the whole Git repository but without the working copy, or your local files that you can work with. So you can't modify files directly in a bare repo. You can't run some commands like you do with normal repos when you initialize or clone a repo, like the remote repositories on a server, or times like we only want to share our codes with other developers, and we don't want them to modify the repo directly. On the other hand, a non-bare repo that we usually use is a Git repository with a working copy, so you can modify files, run commands like git add, git status, and other stuff. This is default when we initialize a repository by typing the git init command in our project directory or git clone without any parameter. When we execute the git init command, we'll create a new empty Git repository, or more precisely, it will create a hidden directory named .git. And as I said before, every directory that its name begins with a dot is hidden by default. This directory contains everything about Git, like the Git database and the history of our files we've changed, or the Git local configuration, and so on. But we don't need to deal with this directory. It only belongs to Git. Note that before this directory, we couldn't use local Git commands like local configuration or, for example, git status, which is a local command. That means we can't run it system-widely. And don't forget to use the init command only when you're in the right place. You should do it in the root directory of your project, so Git can create the .git directory there. So git init is probably the first command you run when you start a new project on your computer, and after that you can start to work with Git and take a snapshot of your files when you've changed them. Now, for having a repository, you can initialize a repository on your local machine in your project directory, or you can clone a repository along with the whole project history from a remote repository, like the React repository on GitHub. So as I said, usually remote repositories don't have a working copy or work tree. We usually see the work directory as work tree in the Git documents. Okay, if we don't have a working copy on the remote repositories, then how do we have a working directory when we clone a repo from them? Because we need one. We need to work with project files, create, modify, or delete them, right? Well, Git will copy the files in the last commit in the branch we cloned as our working copy. I'm going to show you the clone operation later, but for now, to initialize a Git repository on your project directory, so Git can start to track your files, you need to use, as I said, the git init command. Now I'm on the home directory, but let's go to desktop by the cd command. So cd desktop. By this command, we will change the directory path to desktop. To check it, type pwd. As you can see, we're on desktop now, or whatever path you put after the cd command. The pwd command displays the path to the current directory. After you are sure you're in the right directory, then create a project directory. So make directory git-tut, tut for tutorial. Now let's change the directory path to our project directory, which is git-tut. So cd git-tut. Okay, now let's initialize an empty Git repository. It's up to you which name you want for your default branch, because we need at least one branch to work with Git. If I type here git init, Git will create the default master branch for us, but with the p parameter, we can change this name of our default branch to whatever we want. So I'm going to use main. So git init -b main. We can do this by the initial branch parameter too. Look, git init initial branch equals main. Or even if we don't want to do it every time, we can configure Git to use our name for the default branch. Look, git config global init.default branch main. This way, when we type git init, Git will use our configured name instead of master for the default branch. Look, git init. Okay, you probably noticed something has changed here by seeing the main word, which is our default branch. My terminal is configured to tell me on which branch I am. Well, I'm using official right now. If you want official, you can get it from its website. I put its link in the description, but it's not necessary. You can still just use the plain terminal. It's just kind of prettier and it will notify me when I'm in a Git directory. Now we can check for the .git subdirectory by ls-a. With a flag, we can list files and hidden files. The one that starts with a dot, okay? It's here. Let's take a quick look at this directory and see what we have there. So cd to .git and ls. Okay, we have head, config, description, hooks, info, objects, refs. They're all Git files and directories. This subdirectory makes your normal directories a Git directory. If I delete this directory, all of the Git stuff will be gone. Our saved snapshots, local configs, all of the Git files that belong to this directory. So Git doesn't recognize this directory as a Git directory anymore. Let's try that. cd to change the path to the parent directory, rm-r.git. Our flag will remove all the files in the path recursively, so it will remove all of the .git directory's content. Now you probably noticed we don't see the main word here anymore because we're not in a Git directory anymore, because we delete the repository. Therefore, our default branch is gone. Look, ls-a. It's completely gone, but we can enter git init command one more time to have a Git repository again on this directory. So git init. Now we have a fully functional Git repository. Okay, cd to change the path to the parent directory, which is our desktop. Now, to download an entire repository to our machine, we can use the git clone command. It's actually something of a wrapper around several other commands. Make directory, git init, git remote add, git fetch, git checkout. To use this command, just type git clone and the address to that repository. You can copy the address like this, go to the repository page on GitHub or GitLab or anything you use for hosting your repositories, then copy the URL this way. You can use SSH if you've configured SSH on GitHub and your local system, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to use HTTPS. Okay, this operation will put the repo on the same directory name as the repository's name we saw on GitHub. In this case, Flutter. Look, ls, it's here. If you want to put it on the directory you want, just type git clone, the address, then the directory we want. Flutter number 2 as an example. ls, okay, it's here too. To check out to a specific branch after cloning, git clone --branch or -b, then the branch name, dev for example, then the URL. And the directory you want, Flutter number 3. It will download the entire repository, then we'll check out the branch we entered here. In this case, dev. Look, cd flutter number 3, Control L to clear the screen, git branch -a. A flag is to see all the branches. As you can see, it still has all the branches. Press Q to quit, Control L to clone only a single branch. Type git clone -b dev, for example, then --single -branch, then the address. And the directory Flutter number 4. So cd Flutter number 4 git branch -a. As you can see, we only have the dev branch, which is what we wanted. Now let's get back to desktop. So cd dot. Okay. What if we want to clone a large repository? I mean, really large, like an 8 years old repository. Well, if we don't need the full history of that repository, we can do a shallow clone. Let's first clone the whole React repository. So git clone the address, then React number 1. Okay, then du -h for human readable -d for depth 1 to see how much space it took. Okay, it's 206 megabytes. Now let's clone only the last commit. Git clone -depth 1, the address, then the directory, which is React number 2. Check the size again. du-h-d1. Wow, it's like 6 times smaller, which is really great, right? But it has only the default branch. To check it, go to the directory. So cd React number 2, then type git branch -a to list all the branches. As you can see, we only have the master branch, and here's the last commit, git log. Okay, this is the only commit we have in this repository. What if we want the last commit from all branches? Well, type this cd --" to get back to desktop, then git clone -depth 1 -no -single -branch, then type the address and the directory you want. In my case, React number 3. Okay, to check this quickly, type cd React number 3 to go to the React number 3 directory, then check our branches, git branch -a. Okay, let's get back to desktop. So cd --" to prevent history problems, because the last commit isn't really a history for the project, we can get the last 20 or 50 commits depending on the repo or what we want. So git clone -depth 50 -no -single -branch, then type the address and the directory you want, this time React number 4. Okay, cd React number 4 git log to list our commits. Okay, that's a bit better. Now let's get back to desktop. So cd --" Okay, what if we want the history of the repository after a specific date? Well, we can do this. Git clone -shallow -since 17/October 2015, then type the address and the directory you want, this time React number 5. So cd React number 5 git log, this time dash dash reverse to reverse the order. As you can see, we have all the commits after October 2015. Okay, now hit Q to quit. Okay, what if after a while we decide that we need the whole history? First, let's get back to desktop. So cd dot dot. Now, in old versions of Git, we could get more of the project's history by cloning the repo again, but this time enter the depth a bigger number, like thousands, then the address and the directory. So React number 6. Or if you know how many commits we can get from the repository, we can put that number after depth and get the whole commits. But in newer versions, we can do that like this by going to the Git directory, so cd react number 5, and fetching all the commits using the fetch command and unshallow parameter git fetch dash dash unshallow. We can check the commits using the git log command, so git log dash dash reverse. As you can see, we have commits from 2013 instead of 2015. Okay, that's all the commits. Okay, let's check the size of the repos one more time. So cd dot dot to change the path to the parent directory, then check the sizes. So du dash h dash d1. Okay, some of them are kind of the same size, but some of them are much larger than the others, especially the first one, which was a normal cloning from the React repository on GitHub. Okay, for creating a bear repository, we can use the bear parameter. Look, type git help init in your terminal, then /bear to search, then enter. And to go to the next match, okay, dash dash bear, create a bear repository. If you want to work with a team on a bear repository, you probably need to add the shared parameter too. /shared. This will set the permission of everything in the repository to grub writable. This way you let other people that have access push their changes in this repository. Okay, Q to quit. That was for init. What about cloning? Well, we can use bear parameter for that too. Git clone dash dash bear dash dash depth 1, then the address and the directory, so react dash bear. Now let's change the directory to that, so cd react dash bear. Okay, let's do a ls dash a. Oh, okay, as you see, we have all the .git directories content here, and we don't have the .git directory because we used the a flag with ls, but as you saw, there were no .git directory, as well as our files, which is our working copy. Files that Git will copy here when we do a normal cloning. Well, with bear parameter, Git doesn't copy those files from the last commit, because by typing the bear parameter, we are telling Git that we don't need these files. We don't need a working copy, okay? Now we can clone this repository, push or pull our changes here, just like the repositories on GitHub. In fact, we can share this directory locally with everyone in our network. Or this is kind of how people configure their Git servers. So let's clone this. cd dot dot to change the path to the parent directory, then clone this, just like we did before. Git clone react dash bear, because this is where our remote repository is now. Then the directory we want, like we did before, so react number 7. Now let's go to this directory, so cd react number 7, then ls-a. As you can see, it has our working copy along with the .git directory, so this is a non-bear repository. And now Git considers our bear repository as a remote repository. Look, git remote-v to list our remote repositories along with their addresses. We can even convert a non-bear repository to a bear repository. How? Well, we can copy our .git directory's content to another directory. Look, cd dot dot to change the path to the parent directory, which is desktop. Now move everything in React number 7 slash .git directory to React dash bear dash number 2. Okay, cd React dash bear dash number 2 to change the directory to our new directory that we just created. Then we need to tell Git that this is a bear repository. So git config dash dash local dash dash bool core.bear true. As you can see, now it's telling us that we're in a bear repository on its master branch. Cool, huh? We can even use this as an external Git repository. Look, cd dot dot to get back to desktop, then git dash dash git directory equals react dash bear dash number 2 to consider our bear repository as the Git repository, and space dash dash work dash 3, which is our working copy, equals react number 7 to consider this directory's content as our working copy. Then status to check the status or any local commands you like. We can even change our editor to as a local config. Look, git dash dash git dash directory equals react dash bear dash number 2 and dash dash work dash 3 equals react number 7. Then config dash dash local core.editor vim. It will set our editor in a config file in react dash bear number 2 for the react number 7 directory. Now we can check our configuration. Look, git dash dash git directory react bear number 2 and work 3 react number 7 config dash dash local dash dash list dash dash show origin. As you can see, this is all the local configurations we have in the react bear number 2 for react number 7. Okay, as a practice, you can convert react bear number 2 to a non-bear repository, and if you have any questions, you can write it in the comment section. Just remember, most of this stuff is advanced and you don't need to know them to work with Git as a junior developer. But it's always good to know how things work. If you're in a company that uses its own Git server, now we know how it is created, or now you can even create a bear repository by yourself. And don't forget to check that YouTube description below for resources and links, especially my GitHub gist about the stuff we talked about. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.